IVM.
Welcome to another episode of This Round is on Me. The guest for my show today is Devendra Parulekar, founder of SaffronStays, a business founded on the premise of providing alternate vacation accommodation in the private home category. Devendra was an ex-partner and practice leader of cybersecurity at Ernst & Young LLP India, which he left in July 2016 to pursue the vision of transforming the hospitality and real estate market in India. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show today.
Thank you, Gauri. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure coming here.
So I have to tell you, I have a very similar background where I actually spent 9 years with PwC and the last one with KPMG before foraying into hospitality myself. So I don't blame you
for making such mistakes.
Indeed. But listen, I believe that SaffronStays isn't your first venture into entrepreneurship, and that you actually quit your first job at KPMG, in fact, to launch an online marriage bureau. So, and then you went back to E&Y because things didn't quite pan out. But please tell us about this. It's that was, I think, the most exciting thing I'd read, and I was intrigued. So I'd love to know more about that first entrepreneurial experience. And
so we were four of us, and we were friends from college. And we had our respective careers in the big four or banks, or we were all CAs, MBAs, the typical friends wanting to come together and do this. But we quickly realized that we don't have three things. We did not have the technical skills or the technology guys to actually build the platform. So what use is having three great business guys, but no tech guys in the mix. Second, I don't think we had the money. So we tried raising money at that stage. So we didn't have that at that point of time. And third, I think, frankly, we did not have the courage or the guts or the risk-taking ability at that time in our stages in our life to do that and follow it through.
Right.
So, I had decided that when next time I ever get into my entrepreneurial venture, I would have solved these three things for sure.
Yeah. And I believe you went back then to, or you joined E&Y and you were there for 16 years before you finally took the plunge again. And, it's funny that you say this thing about what was missing, because my husband, Jay, who's also my business partner, has always said that it takes three things to, set up your own business. You need a CTO or, the equivalent, which is your sort of tech or the the know-how. You need your CFO, which is the finance, which is what you guys obviously brought to the business, and your CEO, who's running operations. And that's so true. And, it sort of sounds like that was your first big lesson in entrepreneurship. So, but then you did take that leap again, a second time round. And of course, as we all know, more successfully with SaffronStays. So at what point then did you feel ready to do that?
So, we, as a typical Maharashtrian husband-wife duo, Tejas and I, we wanted to start this together. And to de-risk ourselves, we realized that, one of us has to take the plunge and the other one continues to work. So Tejas, she's a chartered accountant, corporate banker, similar background as, us. Again, the big four world, KPMG, EY, and then subsequently corporate banking in ICICI Bank, the usual.
Sure.
Right? Yeah, you're very familiar with that track record.
It's sounding like horribly familiar.
Yeah. So she started out, and one of the first stumbling blocks that we had was the technology bit. And so I used to, you won't believe this. I told her that, look, I'm not going to let this dream go sour. So I picked up a book. I learned how to code, and through 9 months, every night after going back home from 8 o'clock to morning 2 o'clock, I used to code away.
Wow.
I built the whole platform at that point of time. So the dream that time was to actually take on Airbnb head on and be the marketplace for homestays, vacation homes in India.
Right.
But then the next thing happened, which is we quickly realized that, look, you can't take on the multi-million, billion-dollar entity without money. And that's why we pivoted to becoming a management company where we started running, managing, operating, branding, homes.
Right. And then you went on to raise money, I'm guessing, for this venture.
Yeah. So 2 years, I was running on my own savings. And we had planned for that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
as a family, we had decided to live within our means. Most of our partner colleagues were buying Jaguars, and here I was refusing to buy anything or making any real estate investment. We paid off all our loans, built our own safety net, and we knew that 2 to 3 years, even if there is no round of funding, we should be able to either bring this business to profitability or bring this business to a level where you can take it to VCs or and raise that external money. Thankfully, both happened, which means we were able to make it profitable and then go to VCs and private equity firms to say, you know what, here's a very, very credible business model that we can actually build out. Give us the required dollars, and we would be able to scale it out.
Right. I mean, Devendra, it's so funny. This is scarily similar to
Really?
our experience.
Yeah.
I guess the only flip side is that it was my crazy husband who had this idea of opening a restaurant, and I was in my very comfortable job at PwC and then KPMG, and I just started helping out a little bit with the legal and financial aspects, and then before you knew it, I sort of ventured full time into it.
But Gauri, you and Jay have done such a fantastic job.
Thank you so much.
I keep hearing about it, and it's just absolutely fantastic. So kudos to you. Congratulations to you too.
Thank you. And but no, I mean, it sounds so familiar what you're saying, even in terms of self-funding it and keeping that money aside and being sort of clear that we had this 2 to 3 year trajectory to at least even break even before looking at profit. And I think that that's so important. I mean, I'm sort of digressing a little bit, but just I feel like that was so important for us to have that freedom to do what we wanted and be able to make decisions which weren't driven by external financial considerations. So, and to really finesse the offering, whatever it was, in our case a restaurant, and obviously in your case this accommodation platform. So you mentioned that you started this with your wife, and I also work with my spouse. So what's it like working with your spouse as a co-founder? I mean, I have a whole episode on this where I actually dared to invite Jay as a guest. And,
wow.
I know, I was like, oh my God, I'm bearing all on the World Wide Web. But no, it's definitely had its share of ups and downs. But I think overall, of course, we're still here today. So what's it been like for you guys?
Very, very similar. It's a roller coaster ride, right? Because, where your business ends and where your homework begins, and with work from home, I mean, it's even more complicated.
I know. I just had to I just told Jay, I was like, I've got a recording. You need to leave the room for the next hour and a half and not venture anywhere near here. So yeah, I was like, please. Yeah. No, but I mean, it's exactly, it sounds again very similar that, you have to just drawing that line between personal and professional is always a challenge, but it's also so critical to do that, to keep the personal going.
One of the good things I notice is that, unlike us, where I grew up in a family where my parents were working as professionals in a job, I see my kids getting a ringside view of business, of the startup world, of venture capitalists, of investment banking, the whole profitability, we're running cash flows, new business ideas that are being tossed around, and just to get them involved, sometimes it almost feels like all four of us are doing it.
Yeah.
Because they have a mind.
Well, you never know, right?
No. I have no intention of even passing that business down to them. No chance. They have to build their own.
Absolutely. Listen, let's talk obviously about the specifics of the business model behind SaffronStays. It seems like you're a techie at heart, and it's funny that you mentioned you learned coding, from scratch while helping to set up the business. But your sort of background, I guess, with E&Y was sort of in the tech world. And so did you always envision, and you mentioned that this was kind of meant to be, I guess, the Indian counterpart to an Airbnb. So you from what I understand, then you did envision it to be a tech company before it became a hospitality company.
So Gauri, we are a tech company. We just masquerade as a hospitality company. Yeah, I must reveal this to you. Everything we do in our organization, from whether it's simple, the way we run our call center, the way we recommend a home to a customer, that's also driven by an artificial intelligence engine. So to the way the operating system, the entire property management system, the accounting system, everything in this organization is completely tech driven. Right? And we wanted to build an organization like that because we knew that to run a business like this, which is spreading its tentacles across today Maharashtra and maybe tomorrow the country and maybe at some stage across the world, you cannot do this without extreme technology intervention.
Systems
in place. Yes, when we began the journey, we always wanted to take on an Airbnb, and hence we built it to scale from day zero. Right? Because we knew that we should have millions of homes on our platform. Today we run barely 200, but that's a different story. I mean, it's a commercial discussion.
Sure.
But yes, we are at our heart, we are a very tech driven company, tech platform.
But then tell me, I mean, I've seen a number of premium homestay, private villa, rental properties, property companies crop up in the last few years, and of course have been sort of, thrown into the limelight, especially in the last 1 year. How do you then continue to genuinely differentiate yourself from the competition if at the crux of your business is technology, which is, available
so, Gauri,
to everyone?
technology drives the business. But end of the day, the business is you got to have certain business differentiators from a customer standpoint. Customer doesn't care about your technology. Okay. So there are three essential things that we decided will be the cornerstones of our offering to our customer. Number one, we said in this business, we will provide the certainty that a 5-star or a 7-star provides. Okay. So you go to a hotel and you've been used to going to a hotel, a Taj or a Marriott or wherever, and you're used to certain level of service and certainty of service that you get there. There are no hits or misses. Okay, there are no ifs or buts there, right? It happens, and we're used to that. And as a premium paying customer, we want it, and we are not willing to compromise that. So the brand is moving towards a certainty of service as a central promise to the customer. Second promise is the unparalleled privacy that a home gives. Right, so we don't take homes in gated communities. Okay, we strictly avoid crowded places. If a house, even if somebody can look into the swimming pool, we just avoid it. We don't give a home by room. There is no such concept of giving 3 rooms to 3 different families. It's just one family. It's one or one set of friends, and they have the entire house to themselves, and there is unparalleled privacy. Okay, and this is where we beat hotels hands down. Okay, because a hotel is a public space.
But what about like other companies doing sort of a similar business model to you?
So and the third thing is the warmth and the hospitality or that only a home can provide. Okay, and here it means we do not engineer it like a butler service. We engineer it with simple home cooked food that is cooked right in front of you in the kitchen while you're there. So the experience that we leave you behind with is the experience of owning the home as if it were your own private villa in Alibag, and you have invited your friends to come over and have a great time. So these are the 3 central promises. Now let's look at a slightly emotional level. Okay, so these were functional, technical features that I just spoke of.
But sorry to interrupt, but this is sort of how you're differentiating yourselves from a hotel, like a traditional vacation, accommodation. But again, I'm asking, how do you manage to differentiate yourselves within a space where these properties are available to everyone, as in the sense that they are available to various property rental companies to rent? So why should a guest or a host go with SaffronStays over
so let me
XYZ?
complete. So this was to take on the larger hotel market, because you have to realize that there's just so much out there that you can take on. Okay. Second is, I want to take it to the next level, which is the emotional level. Okay. So if you look at how the brand has been positioned, it has been positioned as where families bond. Okay. And this is where many things change. Unlike a Club Mahindra, there is no attempt to entertain you. Okay. Unlike 5 stars, there is no attempt to overplease you or be obsequious towards you. Here, the attempt is to allow you to have spaces and centers of gravity in that space where you and your friends and your family bond together. Okay. And what this does automatically for a homeowner, because of our tagline where families bond, it automatically gives them a lot of comfort that a lot of the nonsense that happens in some of our other competitors' homes, for example, hookah parties, or you know what happens, right? I mean, all kinds of nonsense happens because you're only inviting and catering only to families and responsible set of friends. That risk element is dramatically lower. So homeowners love us for one single thing, the quality of guests that we bring to their homes. And when they proudly go back to their respective friends and say, you know what, the CEO of this company came and stayed in my house, or this film star came and stayed in my house, or that Bollywood star came and stayed in my house, the pride factor for that homeowner is dramatically different.
Sure.
Okay?
I mean, I completely get that. But I mean, does that mean then you're catering to a premium market largely?
Catering to a responsible market. We are catering to people who know how to treat the home of another person like a home. We are not catering to people who go and trash the home.
But let's be honest, like how would you evaluate something like that with a first time customer? So of course, as you build loyal customers, you'll have repeat business. How do you gauge that with a first time user?
By pissing them off. You just have to piss off the guys who you don't want. So if you go to our website and you open the website, and you will see a long list of house rules right there on the first page of a listing. And in some ways, the guys who want to do all that, when they read such a long list, they just say, okay, what, too much trouble. There's just too much headache there. We won't get there is unparalleled privacy, but that privacy doesn't mean, you can do what you want. Yeah. And so that's the second part of the conversation, which is emotional level at which we appeal. Third, which is I think where we really differentiate ourselves from everybody else in the pack, is the Cadbury strategy. So Cadbury quickly realized many years ago that there is only so much in the chocolate market. Okay. But there is 100 times larger mithai market, which India really actually consumes. And they pegged themselves as a celebrations brand. Okay. And that's exactly what we're doing. As a brand, today, SaffronStays stands for celebrations or milestone celebrations in your life. So you have a 50th birthday party, come to a SaffronStays villa. You have a 25th wedding anniversary, come to a SaffronStays villa. You want to give a send-off party to your children who are going to the university in the US, come to a SaffronStays villa. Okay. Or you have a promotion party, come to a SaffronStays villa. Or you have a pre-wedding Sangeet, why don't you take it to a SaffronStays villa? Anywhere where the audience size is probably 15 to 25 people, where you only want to surround yourself with your loved ones, your best of your buds, best of your friends. And you want that unparalleled privacy where you can, do your thing, have a lovely party and live the life, of having owned that experience or that home or that estate. And this single point of positioning ourselves as a celebrations brand has dramatically changed the perception of SaffronStays in the mind of the customer. So from a pure homestay to a vacation rental company to a private villa company to a company that allows families to bond, now we're in the space of celebrations. And that's how the journey of this brand has happened. And that's exactly why the Lux Book 100 decided to actually award us, the top 100 Lux brands or luxury brands. And I noticed very carefully that in those top 100 brands, there are just 10 of us in the hospitality and fine dining space. And that made us really, proud about it.
No, that's amazing. Congratulations. But then, I mean, tell me, what are some of the challenges of this industry? I've heard, especially again in the last few months when, obviously bookings of these kinds of properties are at an all-time high. You hear about like fake booking sites where the same property gets just listed and, someone pays the money to obviously an unknown person and that's the end of their money, or like you mentioned earlier, misuse of the property. So what are some of the challenges that then you are facing if, your audience is obviously of a certain, I wouldn't say caliber, but has certain characteristics that match what your hosts, expect?
So, I'm actually, Gauri, a matchmaker. And I must say the reason why I'm a matchmaker is because on one side, I have homeowners of a particular style, of a particular, caliber.
This is your marriage bureau now actually taking fruition. Your online marriage bureau in a new avatar.
In a way, because these homeowners are also, these are not the flamboyant homeowners. These are homeowners who are professionals. They're self-assured. they're self-made professionals. They've built all of this on their, basis of their hard work. And the way they look at the customers also is that they are opening up their homes, and I am literally, just a custodian of that home. I'm not the owner of the home, and it's my extreme responsibility to ensure that the right set of people come in, and that's my singular objective, to ensure that the right people come into the right homes and they behave well, and they get a superlative experience in which they can celebrate their best occasions in their life. And that's what I do. And and in terms of challenges for this sector, I think that the single biggest challenge that today I face as an organization is honestly, availability of talent. Okay.
And join the club.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, you and I are in a people's business.
Yeah, exactly.
End of the day, whatever tech I throw, whatever I do, end of the day, it's the last mile in the
hospitality.
Person to person. Yeah. And this is exactly where the disproportionate attention of the organization is actually focused on. So Tejas, who's my co-founder and also wife, probably spends all her waking and sometimes even sleeping hours just focusing on training, quality control, operations, mystery audits. It's just relentless. Yeah. And somewhere I feel that I know there are many players in the space. Whoever focuses with insane or focus on the customer experience will actually win the eventual battle. Yeah. Whoever decides to just scale for the sake of scale, and growth for the sake of growth is cancer, right? So whoever just decides to scale rapidly without a sense of where the quality of the experience is going, they are going to die a natural death. And whoever does not invest in technology to allow you to scale will probably just remain stuck at 10-15 homes.
Yeah. No, I want to come to this point of scale because I feel like, I'll come to that separately because I sort of see a similar, there's a desire, but then there's also a hurdle when it comes to a truly hospitality driven business. But just coming back to this point that you mentioned earlier, that the people whose homes you're becoming a custodian of are self-made, built this up from scratch. I know, for example, like I have a place in Alibag and I sort of have a problem with the idea of having strangers use my property. How do you sort of convince people to do otherwise?
You were there throughout the entire lockdown operating out of Alibag, right?
Most of it, yeah, for a large part, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So you all and the home. The use of utility of having a home. And what happens is somewhere I think some of the homeowners start realizing that I am in Alibag and I am using the home, and hence this home is so well maintained. But just for 3 weeks I don't go there, and suddenly this house starts falling apart. I go back and I have to fix the air conditioner, I have to fix the pool filter. I can see the expression and it tells me all. So homeowners come to me and say, what, even if you're able to give me just about enough traffic, which keeps the home used, okay, and brings the right type of people to my house, I'm good to go.
Right.
Okay. So they look at it slightly practically. And they say, what, let that house be used just about enough by the right people who know how to respect the house, like a home, as if I would treat the home. And of course, Gauri, we take care of the fact that, the cutlery is different, the linen is different, private sections are cordoned off, cupboards, certain sections are marked as for homeowner use. All of that. Now, I think this is like I can wake up from my sleep and actually... Yeah. Yeah. We've just perfected the whole art.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. What you're saying, but tell me something. Is this, of course I've seen, because we were providing food. Alibag is a big market for you all. We were sort of delivering food to Alibag pretty much a few months into lockdown. That really helped us. And I know sort of helped a lot of the people staying in these properties as well. But do you see, I definitely saw that there was a heavier traffic on the weekends, obviously, compared to the week. Is that what you're seeing, is this sustainable, that if it's sort of heavily driven by weekend business?
So pre-COVID and post-COVID, a lot of things have changed. Pre-COVID, this was a pure weekend business. Weekend, the occupancies were just negligible. right? Today, 60% of my book is weekend and 40% of it is weekday. Earlier, it was probably 80-20. Now it's 60-40. And the two key drivers are work from home and e-learning.
Yeah.
Right? So how does it matter? You and I are sitting out of our homes. How does it matter whether we are in Alibag or in
But
Goa?
then is this demand sustainable? Like once schools reopen and, things like that, like, is this, I mean, I'll give you an analogy with something that we've been thinking about, where when we saw the number of people staying in Alibag and how Alibag became so in demand for people to be able to get away from the city. And at one point it was nuts. I had friends messaging saying like, help me find a property, and I was like, I don't even know what's happening outside of my place. But, it was, the demand was just nuts, right? But is this something that, I mean, practically, at some point, I hope schools will reopen and people will sort of go back to their urban homes, or how are you sort of planning for that?
So, see, first is, I think the idea of a vacation home or owning a vacation home was probably 10 years ago in fashion. Then the practical challenges of owning a vacation home or having a vacation home started creeping in. Everybody just gave up on that concept. And nobody was ever buying or looking to rent or doing anything out there. But I think post-COVID, the need for a vacation home has been again felt. People want to be out there. They refuse to be cooped up in residential societies where you're at the whims and fancies of the managing committee. Thou can do this and thou shall not do this, and
absolutely
no
comment.
Right? It's quite tough. Yeah,
my neighbors might be tuning into this.
Yeah. So the need for a vacation home has been established. Work from home, we wired up all the homes, right? We did not even have proper decent internet. Now we wired up all our homes. There's cable internet, fiber running to each of the homes. So that problem that we were facing has been solved. Okay, I understand schools will probably be iffy. Once schools go back, kids will go back, but the demand patterns will probably change.
But you feel that there's been enough of a habit created.
Yes,
this is sort of a very real alternative to hotels, and especially in places where there aren't enough, hotel options, possibly, that this is actually, a great alternative. And
this is not an alternative any longer. Yeah. This is mainstream.
Right.
Hotels are an alternative. I think this has disrupted leisure hotel space completely. If you're thinking of 100-bed, 100-room, 100-key hotel in a leisure destination, you got to rethink your entire business model.
So now you're essentially providing serious competition for hotels. So have you seen anything change in terms of their offering to compete with the likes of your businesses?
Yeah. So one, they will come into my space, which is quite likely to happen. Right.
So you see hotel brands now getting into private villa rentals?
Yeah. You will find that happen. You will find that happening very soon. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. It's already happening. I know there's a lot of active interest out there from hotels to do this. But to run a hotel is something, and to run a private home is a totally different thing, because you can't have hundreds of staff managing one home. You just need 2 or 3 people, and you have to do it very lean and very lean fashion to keep your costs in a very different structure, right? But yes, that will happen. Second is, I think, today the hotel industry is ignoring us. Yeah, they think we are just small fry. Yes, we are small fry. I don't disagree with that. But once this industry starts receiving the required funding and the attention from the large private equity players who will start coming into this space, and they will invest millions of dollars in this space, you will start seeing this particular industry mature. Yeah, you will see a couple of credible players emerge, achieve scale. And I'll give you an example. To construct one hotel room, you need 1 crore to 1.5 crores of capital investment, capex. That's the math in the leisure hotel segment. But I'm not constructing anything. Right? I'm unlocking.
You don't own any assets. So
I don't own any assets. I'm an asset-light company.
Yeah.
So I'm unlocking real estate investments made by people like you, who probably don't have the time or the energy or willingness to actually do something like this. And they would rather lean on a credible network like Devendras, like SaffronStays, and say, you know what, why don't you guys run the whole show for me? I'm happy to partner with you. Right.
Right.
So we are like those small fish coming together, and becoming that big fish.
No, I mean, absolutely. That makes sense. But let's talk about sort of the last 1 year with COVID. I think it either made or broke many businesses. I know for us, it was a very challenging time, but it strangely also opened up avenues that we would probably not have explored at that point in time. And it sort of forced us to be creative and, survival instincts, right? Essentially.
Wow. Yeah.
And of course, now we're going through that all over again, with another wave and lockdown, etc. But of course, I know that for you guys, it was a crazy wave in the positive direction. But how prepared were you for this? And, how did it actually affect your business in the sense that, I've heard you talk about, also shedding inventory as well as adding to it and sort of rejigging the quality of inventory that you hold. So how were you prepared for this and how did it affect you in the last 1 year?
So as a business, I think we used the 4 months of 100% inactivity to the hilt. See, sometimes, a racing car needs a pit stop for it to change the tires. We use the opportunity to not just change the tires, we changed the engine, we changed the body, we repainted ourselves. We completely emerged as a totally different company. So our tech platform completely changed. We launched a new website. The UI UX changed. The backend interfaces with our homeowners, all of that changed. That's everything at the backend. Everything changed. But I think the most important decision that we took is instead of going pan-India, we actually shrunk. We shut down probably 80 to 90% of the inventory that we had outside of Maharashtra. We exited markets. We exited Goa completely. And we just focused on just 6 regions in Maharashtra. We chose Alibag, we chose Karjat, we chose Lonavala Khandala, we chose Panchgani Mahabaleshwar, we chose Nasik, Igatpuri, Devlali, that belt. And that's it. And we oriented our teams only in these 6 markets. Everything else we shut down. And we said over the next 2 years, all that we're going to do as a company, as a brand, is get our act right in these 6 markets. We will dominate these 6 markets. We'll have at least 40, 50 homes in each of these 6 markets. And then we'll think of stepping out of Maharashtra, and then we will go to Goa, and then we'll go everywhere else. Instead of scattering away all our energies, frittering away our energies everywhere, and one day deciding to run a North campaign, another day a South campaign.
And especially at a time when logistics and sort of traveling, etc. were restricted, that being
and we hyper-focused.
Hyper-local was
hyper-focused, hyper-local. Yeah. And that changed everything for the company, because from a perception of an aggregator that we were earlier, now we are perceived as a pure blood hospitality company, right? That's focused on quality, that focused on customer experience. And we realized that during COVID, the best of the customers were patronizing us. People who had only patronized 7 stars and 5 stars, had only seen globally for top class hotels in the world, started patronizing us. And when they came back and started calling me and said, "Dude, you've changed the way we holiday. This is been an eye opener to us." That is when we realized that yes, now we've hit the right product market fit. We've understood the customer.
Yeah. Right? So I have to tell you, you're absolutely right. And I've actually seen, I've visited friends who have rented properties, including, ones managed by you in Alibag. And some of these homes, I'm just like, what is going on here? I didn't even know these existed. And, because I live in my little bubble there. And so it's an incredible new potential for people like us who want to go and stay somewhere different with the privacy, with all, the facilities. Like you said, for example, that a lot of these properties have swimming pools, which right now hotels, don't have, things like that. But there's a big but here, because I think from my perspective, one of the pain points that I keep hearing from people staying in any of these kind of properties is the food. And obviously that's what comes back to me, because, that's my offering. But that is something that, especially when people are spending that kind of money, and they also, that's something that hotels do potentially provide. I mean, maybe not in the current circumstances, but generally they do have this variety of, restaurants, and especially like your premium hotels have, really high caliber chefs, etc. So how are you addressing something like that? Because I know that like there is a limitation with like the local cooks and things, and what they can do. So is there something that you I'm asking for a friend, of course, but is there something that you
No, it's
have
simple.
planned for? Yeah.
Yeah, it's simple. I'll align with you.
No, I'm joking. But
No,
no,
I'm,
I
I'm
mean,
not. I'm serious
no,
because
yeah, I mean, no, but this is, I mean, like in all sort of seriousness, I mean, how is this something that you intend to tackle? Because like a lot of travel, and again, I might be speaking from my perspective because I'm in the food industry, but for me, a lot of travel, wherever it is, whether it's, somewhere nearby or further away, or even like globally, like you mentioned, a lot of it revolves around food, and food experiences. And so how can you kind of maybe add value with that to the homes that you're running?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Gauri, I think food drives a lot of travel. Food drives a lot of, experience itself. And we recognize this. Yeah, so in the last 6 months, the restaurant industry, the five-star industry particularly went through a lot of layoffs, and a lot of chefs, a lot of cooks got laid off. And we were probably lucky enough to have hired large numbers of them. So we made a lot of investment in hiring cooks and chefs and across the board. Particularly in an X series homes, we've hired and kept chefs from 5 stars and 7 stars. But I also understand that there are credible players like you out there who we need to work back with and say, what, the dinner is curated completely by the or the one of you guys, and we make it happen.
Right.
But I must also tell you, Gauri, that a lot of people love fresh home cooked meals. And the Alibag cuisine, there's something called, and I must encourage you to try something called the popti. And Alibag is known for this. You dig a big ground in the,
right.
a hole in the ground, and you put charcoal there. You take a
the
big
original
earthen
barbecue.
Yes, the original Alibag barbecue. Nobody talks about. Nobody knows about. You come to one of our homes. The local chefs, the local cooks there, the maushis there, they can actually, cook a mean popti of the freshest seafood that you could ever think of.
Yeah.
You would have never thought of doing that.
Listen, I'm probably going to get shot by my own team for saying this, but I'm completely with you. I mean, when I go there, I'm more than happy to, eat the local food. But I think, I mean, especially when, exactly. Everyone wants a bit of variety and, and change. And I think that that's just something that has to be given as much importance as, anything else, basically, when it comes to, these stays. So, I mean, but that's part of the experience of travel is also trying the local food and, enjoying that. So let me now just come back to this point of scale. I know that your mantra is think big, then multiply that 10 times, and that should be your dream. That's amazing. I mean, I read that and I was like, I need to put that up somewhere and look at it every day. But, for me, scale, and this is what I mentioned briefly earlier, is the biggest issue in hospitality when the focus is on personalized service, right? Like, how do you offer that same personal touch, which is so key to our business when you scale? And I've rarely seen it work, to be honest, in our industry. I mean, so when it comes to your business, what are the key opportunities for you and the potential for scale in your business? And, what is your strategy for the rest of the year?
So we have a 5-year strategy in place, right? And we're very clear that the next 18 months, we're just going to focus on Maharashtra. Yeah. And once we've pretty much come to some 300 homes odd in Maharashtra, that's where we'll start looking at other markets, and that's where we'll start expanding. And we'll pick and choose the most relevant markets and expand in a very sensible, very thought through manner. And as I said, growth for the sake of growth is cancer. You got to scale with quality in mind. And as long as your customer is getting what he or she wants at the right price point, you got to keep doing it and keep pushing the envelope to keep scaling the company. because growth is, whether we like it or not, growth is life. And Reliance has, not mine, it's Dhirubhai Ambani's statement, growth is life.
Yeah.
But that is it. I mean, you and I became entrepreneurs to scale, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, you do have to, you have to grow. I mean, that's the nature of business, but it's just a matter of how you do it smartly. And like you mentioned earlier, I think it's firstly having systems which allow you to, get that basic foundation right, and then people, and also not being in any race to do it.
So, one of my competitors, they decided that to scale, we should have a centralized kitchen. And they started having centralized kitchens in Lonavala and Alibag. And they send you packed lunches to your homes. And I thought that defeats the entire purpose of a holiday, receiving packed lunches.
Mm-hmm.
Your food has to be fresh, cooked right there. And every place has to have a very different cuisine. You can't have standard gravies and standard, I'm not running a restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm allowing the local flavors of the respective region. And the home next door is run by a different family, right? So most of my homes are staffed by local families.
Sure.
And these are local families that we train up on standards of hygiene and standards of hospitality, and bring and give them a lot of respect and respectability in their community. And the wife of the caretaking family, she dishes out probably the most lip smacking food that you can ever think of, right? And what usme, I don't have to standardize anything. I have to keep it non-standard.
Yeah.
So our focus is on keeping things non-standard and not having the standard Gauris. So we don't scale by artificially putting our notions of scale of having standardization and standard menus and standard this. We've just removed those from our mind.
Yeah.
There is no standard decor in any of our homes. Every home is different. Every room is different within the home. My product is all about non-standardized hospitality. But at the same time, you will find the same standard cleaning chemicals being used. Okay,
sure.
The same process of COVID safety being used. So certain things are common. The training that we give on how to handle snakes, that's common. The training that we do all that.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a brand like us is giving snake training to our caretaking staff? But we got to do that.
Yeah, got to do what you got to do, right? Yeah. That's the market you're in. But also, I mean, I'm guessing one of the big opportunities right now is also the long stay and, the workstation as opposed to staycation kind of opportunity. So what are your views on the practicality of, work from home? And of course, in your case, that home could now be anywhere. So, are you looking at long-term stays as part of the offering? And do you have to kind of tweak your offering to fulfill expectations from guests who have like a more long-term requirement?
So in my business, long-term doesn't mean months. It just means weeks.
Right.
Okay. So 2 weeks, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So the moment the lockdown got announced, my call center started ringing again for 7 days, 10 days, 14 days. This will continue for the next couple of months. Again, it'll be back to the leisure holiday, the celebrations and all of that. So this is a temporary, long stays is temporary. It'll last for next 2 months at best.
Which is why you're focusing on the celebrations, because those will be there for life.
Each one of us has at least 10 celebrations every time. And you and I need an excuse to celebrate something. Let's be clear, right? We just need an excuse to get our friends together and throw a lovely party, right? So
yeah, no, that makes sense. So coming back to the last year, I mean, I know it was crazy for me. There was sort of serious moments of burnout and, also just anxiety about dealing with the whole situation and just, incredible amounts of stress, of course. So I know that as a sort of leader of a business, that is something that we have to deal with. So how do you deal with stress and create some sense of balance in your life?
Anything I say will be held against me by my wife. So
now you have to say it.
So, when the clubs open, see, I think I distract myself by playing tennis. I love to play tennis, and I'm very sad that again the lockdown has shut down my club, and so that's kind of stopped. But that was the best de-stressing for me.
Nice.
But honestly, during the 4 months of lockdown last year were really bad, right?
Yeah.
I mean, all that we did was watch Netflix and agarbatti laga ke baithe the 4 mahina. Kya kare?
Yeah.
But salaries were still to be given. Costs were still
Yeah. No, I completely understand. I mean, I think for me, that's why I feel very fortunate to have a place like Alibag where, you can swim and go for like long walks and things. So, yeah. But I want to ask you one sort of last thing about the business, which is that I've often heard you speak about creating a legacy business. So, what does legacy mean for you, and what kind of...
So if we look at the luxury travel segment or hospitality segment in India, you only talk about Taj and Oberoi's and the Leelas and and today even ITC or some of those guys. You haven't really seen an Indian-born luxury travel space emerge. Not more than 4 or 5 in the full last century. Right, all the private equity money that has gone into budget accommodation. Right, 2,000 rupees, 1,000 rupees. Why is there always a race to the bottom? Why is there always a race to discounting and earning your customers' loyalty? Why is there never an effort at building an extremely high value proposition to your customer that they keep coming back to you, not because of your pathetic low prices, but they're coming back to you for the experience and the quality of experience or the stay that you're offering. And I feel that this is not sprint. This is not a 2-year, 3-year sprint. This is a marathon. You and I quit our careers not to, just burn out in 2 years, right? We quit our careers because 10 years down the line, you and I will be, sitting and looking back at what we built and very proudly at the brands that people are patronizing and talking about. I don't think Gauri needs fame. I don't think Deven needs fame. But if the table or the SaffronStays as a brand becomes home known as luxury brands and respected, that's the legacy that you and I want.
Yeah.
The second legacy that I want to leave behind is I want to create entrepreneurs. So at some stage, I would love some of my staff, my team, to actually set out, create their own entrepreneurial ventures, and I would love to fund them. I would love to find such businesses and actually put money in them. And that's a dream that I hold very close to my heart. So two types of legacy: one, brand, and second, create entrepreneurs.
That's incredible. So listen, I mean, huge amount of learning and really interesting. I have one last segment of the show, which is what we call the rapid fire. So you have to just say the first thing that comes to your mind. It's got nothing to do with your business. So you can sit back and relax now. Okay, what's your one comfort food?
Fish curry rice, especially prawn curry rice.
You're like the first person who hasn't said khichdi. No. I'm so happy.
It's a Goan khichdi, no?
Yeah,
if you're from Malvan, Goan, it's my khichdi. Prawn curry rice is my version of khichdi.
Okay, a great book you've read in the recent past.
0 to 1.
Oh my God, I'm reading that right now.
What are you saying?
That is so amazing. It is. It's by my bed, so I can't. Oh, actually, no. It's
wow.
There you go.
What are you saying?
What are the chances, right? But you're actually the second person who said that when I asked the question. And it was after the first person said it that I took it up. So I just started reading it, actually. Wow. So but yeah. Okay. The best investment you've made in your journey?
I think investment in my people. As a founder, the one thing I spend time and money and energy and effort in is hiring. Hiring talent, hiring A-level talent is your single biggest, investment that you can
in your business.
Your business. You have to surround yourself with A-level people, and they will surround themselves with A-level people, and your business will grow.
Right. And who have been your role models or mentors?
So there are many, and by mentors you mean people right? Right? Not Steve Jobs of the world.
I mean, it could be anyone, but someone who's, I guess, inspired you or encouraged you.
Okay, so there have been many mentors in my life. Sunil Chandiramani, my first boss, or somebody who actually came to me and said, what, would you like to build India's first ethical hacking lab? This was way back in 2000. I was barely 23, 24 years old, and he trusted me to build something for EY. And that set me on a journey to become a partner at barely 30 years old and take that business to where it is today. So, and of course, there is Terry and Ram, who were my other two partners who I used to report to. And these three they really shaped my career in EY. 16 years to stay in a company. I mean, you don't hear of that, right? And that really happened because they were truly recognized that there's an entrepreneur amongst us who needs to be constantly challenged and constantly given opportunities to grow. And they never let themselves or their thoughts come in their way. And they just let me run amok.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what you need.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, and of course, and I don't want to needlessly speak somebody up, but there are two people in my current company who I feel, in my current setup. One is our investor, Nikhil Vora, and his insight into consumer business, his lateral thinking on consumer business has always inspired me. And I have given a mentorship stake to a gentleman called Sanjay Mehta. And that's a guy who,
wow.
if I have...
That's the first. I've never heard of that. That's really interesting.
So it's a mentorship stake that we've given him, knowing fully well that sometimes, you need a Krishna to being an Arjun, right? So he is my Krishna in my present business, where I know if I have any problem, any set of confusion, I just have to go to him, take 45 minutes of his time, and I come back with, crystal clear thoughts, including in mundane, stupid things like how when we were designing a logo, we went to him and said, what, this is a fancy logo that we've come about. And the first question, he turned around and said, logo should not be having a text in it. It should be a symbol or an icon, which over a period of time, people should remember, right? It can't have an S. That's like a shopper stop, or that's like whatever, right? It has to be. And that's where we came back and went back to our drawing board and came up with a logo which has that small, those 5, infinitives that we like to call.
How did he come into your life?
So again, way back as a partner in EY, he was an entrepreneur himself, and he was running his own business intelligence tool that he had created. And both of us used to chase the same clients. One fine day, he went into a coma because of blood pressure. And 4 days later, when he emerged out of it, his doctors told him, you have to sell off your business. You can't take the stress, exit everything and just lead a normal life. He said, okay, all right. He sold off his business. And then he became an angel, and he reinvented himself as an angel investor rather than an entrepreneur. And I think for somebody to recognize his own physical limitations and suddenly convert his own self and reinvent himself, it was a remarkable transformation that I saw in him. And I think that just was a singular instance which told me that, you can become an entrepreneur. A job ही छोड़ रहा है ना, उसका तो पूरा life, पूरा company बेचना पड़ा उसको, right? So,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So finally, before I let you go, Devin, what would be your message to the young leaders today?
Oh, take that risk. Take that risk. Plan for it. Don't go into it with 100 rupees in your bank account, thinking that some venture capitalist will come and bail you out. Build your safety net. If your parents are there who have a safety net, take that risk in your 20s. If you don't have a safety net with your parents supporting you, do it in 30s, right? But build your safety net, but do it. Take that risk and think big and just do it. Something will happen.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I guess that's definitely, that's the thing. It's life, right? You've got one shot at it. So don't wait around for stuff to happen to you and go for it yourself. So that's amazing. Listen, on that really inspiring note, it's been so fun talking to you. And I'm amazed at the analogies that there are between, our journey, but just also how we think about, hospitality, which which we're both in, but yet very differently, in it very differently. And so, lots to learn from you. And
same here. I'm sure.
Hope to meet in person one day.
Very soon. Let's stabilize and I'm sure we will. Lovely talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. All the very best to you. All the very best.
It was interesting to hear the similarities in approach that Devendra and I share with respect to our businesses. Focus on quality and take your time to grow. I hope you enjoyed tuning in today. Do catch the earlier episodes when you get a chance. And more importantly, I would love to hear from you with your thoughts on the show. You can find me on Instagram at Gauri Devidayal or on Twitter at Gauri Details or LinkedIn. Either way, sit back and relax because this round is on me.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd like to thank our sponsors on the network this week, Siet Tires and thewholetruthfoods.com. So this week on Advertising is Dead, Varun was joined by Mansi Zaveri. She shares her experience of running a community for parents of young kids and teenagers and of hosting a podcast along the same lines. Gauri Devidayal was joined by Divya Thani on This Round Is On Me. Divya works as a global editorial director with Condé Nast Traveler. They discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of a travel writer's job. On Candid Kanan, Sid is in conversation with Adarsh Gaurav, who recently scored a BAFTA nomination for his role in the Netflix adaptation of The White Tiger. They talk about his role in the show, life pre and post stardom, and so much more. On Agla Station Adulthood, Ritash and Aichi talk about the precious time and opportunities lost to the lockdown and share their post-COVID wish list. When it comes to cricket this season, we have you covered. In English, we have Edges and Sledges, which do their show live on YouTube. They look for announcements over there. And for our Hindi listeners, we have Khel Niti, hosted by Rajiv Mishra and ex-Indian cricketer Sabah Kareem. This show is live streamed on YouTube every day at 9:15. Definitely do check these out and hope to see you again next week.
Feeling overwhelmed, anxious, struggling with too many obstacles, don't know where your life is headed? Well, if you are dealing with one or all of these, tune into the Positively Unlimited podcast, because in each episode, I share a life lesson, a life hack, a pro tip that can help you get your life back on track. All episodes are available on the IBM website, IBM Podcast app, or wherever it is that you get your podcast from.